Yo, what's going on, guys? This is the Anime Association back here with another discussion video. Today, we're discussing MHA Vigilantes episode 9. So let's get right into it. This episode was pretty fun. We had some action. We also had some family drama involved with Koichi's mom. So, what was your guys' overall thoughts on the episode, Tim?
Honestly, I thought the episode was kind of whack at first, and then it just got better as the actual action came along. I wasn't not really a big fan of the slice of life type of angle that Vigilantes has kind of been taken. I did find it funny that we found out uh, what Knuckle Duster actually does, which isn't what he actually does. But he just I don't know how it was all planned out, but he ended up coming there at the same time, dressed up, and really sold it to his mom that he was. I enjoyed that part, but for the most part, I'm not a big fan of this slice of life shit that they got going on.
Yeah, what about you, Ginyu?
I quite enjoyed it. To be fair, I think it was something that was different. I think one of the other things that it kind of got things going was, I know in previous episodes we kind of discussed saying, oh, maybe Koichi and Popstep after was it Makoto found out that he is actually the crawler, and when her mom was like, oh, maybe you should marry him, and she said at the end, it was like, it's not a no. That threw everything out the window for me, because Koichi's in the game, bro. He's in the game. So, but no, it was a good episode. And as you said, what Knuckle Duster does, well, it was actually quite funny, because technically he wasn't lying with how he was explaining it, but he was lying at the same time. So it was pretty good, though. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, the episode I thought was pretty fun. I thought it was an enjoyable watch, and I mean, I can kind of understand where Tim's coming from with the slice of life stuff. It's like in the past episodes, we've kind of been led to where like something is going on in the background, but they haven't focused too much on it. So it's like this thing of like, they show us this, but then they're showing us that, and it has nothing to do with this. So, it's kind of like like a complete 180. But I do think that like everything with Koichi's mom being introduced, and then the love angle that we have between Makoto, Koichi, Pops Up and everything. I do think that was well done as well. What was your guys' thoughts on her quirk? It was like some sort of like slapping quirk or something. Like I personally thought it was kind of annoying. I thought that she like overused it way too much, especially like the scene where like we found out that he could fly when he was a baby. She literally slapped him when he was a baby. So it was like, I don't know. To me, it was like overused. But what did you guys think? Can you?
I can agree with that. I think the only bits that maybe that stopped me fully agreeing with it is probably, like when when you grow up with African parents, it's kind of the norm, really, kind of thing. So it's like I was like, oh, okay, cool, fair enough. But like I do get, but the bit where she was overusing it, yeah, I could see that, because in some aspects you could probably almost say that her using her quirk so much on him may have actually eventually affected his development of his quirk, because when he did have that moment where he could fly, if you will, and you could see that it was something that he could do as a baby, you know, it almost feels like every time he was making some type of leap or bound with it, she was always slapping it and bringing him back down, which was stopping that from flourishing. So I can see, yeah, so I can understand it was a bit, it wasn't super annoying, but I can understand why people would feel it was annoying, because it had its moment, but it wasn't the most annoying thing.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
I must have missed something because I didn't even know that was her quirk. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know that was her quirk at all. Uh, I think I did hear her say something about using her quirk to stop him from flying. I didn't know it was the slapping thing of it. That was the quirk. I thought it was something else that I missed. Uh, but yeah, no, I don't think it was overused per se. Uh, but like Ginny was saying, it definitely stunted his quirk. It stunted his quirk's ability itself, because now it's like, is his quirk actually gliding, or is it flying, or is it something completely different? Because he activated it without making 3 points of contact. I wonder if the 3 points of contact, if that's a mental block too, will he now be able to run without, because it's like what's it's almost like the the rules of his quirk have now been broken
Yeah.
surrounding it.
Yeah, I also think it's kind of like a development type of thing of like their quirk, like they're able to improve their quirks, like we've seen with Deku before. Um, but like, so for instance, if this was like a hindrance that she like caused on him and his quirk, what do you guys think was the threshold that he passed in order to be able to fly? Can you?
Uh,
Oh,
Oh,
sorry,
I
Tim.
think it was.
Whoever.
Go on, Tim.
Sorry, sorry.
no, I was just thinking it was like a fight or flight type of thing, literally. But in this case, flight is the fight, right? It was a call of action that his body needed to do, and it was probably like some innate type of thing that happened, right? Kind of like I know y'all probably heard like a mother could lift a car if her baby was underneath of it, like one of them type of things. Like adrenaline takes over, you surpass your limits even temporarily, because when he tried to do it again, he couldn't do it to the same effect. But he needed to do 3 points of contact again as well to even float 20-30 centimeters off the ground. it so it was like, I think it was one of them things. It was just a temporary. It was almost like when Deku used 100% with Ari on his back. It was kind of like one of them type of things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was. I think it was. I think it was probably one of those situations where it was life or death, really, because in that moment he had no choice. He missed Ingenium when they recreated that moment where from My Hero where Red Riot shouts out to Bakugo at the top, and then he just basically eventually goes up and actually grabs his hand. But that's besides the point. But I think it was because he knew.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I didn't even link the two scenes together. You talking about when he saved them from All for One. You talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that scene. I didn't even link
that.
those two together.
But it was just like the way he just ran, and then yeah, and I think it was kind of like I said, it was before it because it was life or death. He knew that if he didn't do anything, him and not only him and as a marketer, they were just cooked. And which, as Tim was saying, the adrenaline caused him to go plus ultra, really, because he had to find that extra step within himself, or else he was cooked. And that's why I think when he was try it again, he couldn't do it because there were no stakes. So, and when there's no stakes, sometimes it's almost like a situation where when you're not backed in a corner, you don't really have the urge to do something. And when you are back to the corner, sometimes you find out something different about yourself, but then when you try to dig back deep into that thing, you can't, because it's not the same. And I think that's probably what's happened for him.
Yeah, I do also think it was more of like a instinctual type of thing that his quirk just automatically would go to that next level because of the situation that he was in. Because as you said, after the fact, he wasn't able to go to be able to do it again. So I think it was the situation that arose that for his quirk to be able to go that far. Another thing we start to see like B and how she's like using the cat to turn into a bus. My thing is, do you think that she is like just going around like experimenting on people in order to see like how the trigger affects different individuals and different quirks? Can you?
Do you know what? I think B's whole purpose in this show is just to piss me off, because every single time she just shows up, I just get so annoyed because she's just causing havoc unnecessarily. And I think it is one of those things where, like, yeah, she's experimenting on with the trigger to see how it affects people differently and so forth. But again, the most annoying thing is there's no there's no lead up to the chaos of her. It's just there. It just happens. Like at no point when I saw the cat, was I thinking this is the cat's about to do a madness. That's not what I thought. I was thinking, what kind of stupid cat's on top of a bus? What the hell? And then I saw the little bee that started injecting the trigger in, and I was like, oh crap. I didn't even think. I'm thinking, I didn't even think you're going to be in the episode. I think that's where it's kind of the annoyance there is that there's no actual lead up in there where I'm like, okay, cool, I saw her coming. All right, fair enough. She's about to do a crazy. It's just there, like, what the fuck are you doing? Kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. B,
Yeah,
it is what it is, but
All right,
yeah,
Tim.
that's kind of how I'm feeling about it in this episode. I mean, with what you were asking though, that is exactly what she is doing. I think they showed that a few episodes ago that she has different formulas for the trigger and she's testing them out. The real thing that was on my mind was, does she? I think I think her purpose this episode was to get Koichi's secret out of who he is to Makoto. I think that's what her thing was ultimately, but it also made me question whether or not she knew his quirk was fly instead of glide. Uh and also I think whatever her, if there is a connection there, I also think Knuckle Duster knows something about his quirk as well, because he started acting funny when he found out what the quirk was.
Yeah. So, do you think there's like, because like possibly, we know that All for One is the one behind this. Do you think that he had somehow found out and told B, or there's just like something else that she like had done on her own in order to find out?
You
I think
know,
I. Oh, go on.
nah, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just about to say we're giving B too much credit here because I just don't think that's what's happened. I think Koichi revealing himself here um to is very coincidental. It just happened to be the heat of the moment situation. I don't think B was elaborate enough to have planned such a scenario that it gets to that point, because by if B knows who Koichi is, what purpose does it serve for everyone else to find out? I mean, his mom knows, and the others know, but her knowing doesn't really do anything, because
Well,
what
it ends up putting the vigilantes against the cops.
but
If
she's
they
not gonna.
know,
Yeah.
if Koichi and Pop Step and Knuckle Duster's true identities are revealed, the vigilantes are still technical, or they are criminals because they're using their quirks unlicensed in a hero way, unlicensed. So they are criminals. It would divert attention from her and put it onto the vigilantes, because now they have to hide. They can't just be Koichi. Just can't be Koichi anymore if his true identity gets out there. That was one of the reasons why Ingenium was like, I'm just going to say it was just some random bystander instead of saying it was the Crawler or whatever the wider public know him as, type of ordeal. So I think if I I think we might be giving her too much credit, but I do think you're taking too much credit from her in the same breath. I don't think she's a dunce like you think she is.
No, because I was
You think
because
she's
I
an
was just
absolute dunce of a human being?
no. I'm just saying because the people that know are the people that somewhat already knew. And Genium knew, because when he got on the bus and he saw him, he looked away like, ah, frick, what are you doing here? Kind of thing. And I'm sure, other than the only person that gained to find that ended up finding out was Makoto. She was the only one who knew, right? Now, because her brother's an inspector and everything, she's got a role to do here. Does she tell her brother? I don't think she's gonna do that now. You know,
Well,
later
yeah.
down the line, do we get a situation where she's involved? I mean, at face value, right now, there is no threat. So that's why I don't understand how B's plan was great, because when you look at it, the only person that found out that didn't know was her, the Makoto girl. Everybody else has an idea of, all right, cool, vigilantes, we have an idea of who it is, fine. But outside of that group, outside of the Ingenium group, who where's the
Well,
threat
you gotta think
of her
about
finding out?
when Makoto first got introduced in the episode before, Popstep and Knuckle Duster were both saying it's a bad idea because if she finds out who you are. So I think that might be something that's leading into that whole she can't know your real identity, because while she might not necessarily tell her brother, who's the lead detective on all the vigilante stuff and all that, uh she still is a journalist, right? So now it's just like any other superhero thing. When somebody finds out your identity, it's just bad. And if because she really wants to keep Knuckle Duster off of her trail. But if Knuckle Duster's pupil is in danger, he has to make the decision of going to save Koichi or stopping B. That's the one thing that I can think of why she would be causing this potential internal chaos between
Fair,
his knowledge coming out type of thing.
fair.
Or at least AFO. Like maybe she isn't coming up with it, but with AFO involved, you never know what the hell this man knows. He knows literally everything and plays not even 5D chess. He plays like 200D chess. Okay, AFO is on a whole nother plane of existence when it comes to plotting.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so I do think it's somewhere in the middle there, though, because I don't necessarily agree that it's B's plan. I do think it is more so All for One's plan, and if they are able to eliminate the vigilantes, then they have a better chance of getting the trigger out, because the vigilantes are the ones that are more so trying to stop them from getting the trigger out, as opposed to the heroes. The heroes are more like just in the spotlight, like everybody sees them, but like what basically her approach of like how she's trying to get the trigger out is through like in the shadows, and it's where the vigilantes live. They live in the shadows. So I think that if she were to like get them like their image out there, then that would be one way to stop them from doing that, if that makes sense.
Understood. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah. So last thing, moving on from that, we're gonna talk about Ingenium. And one of the cool things we found out about him is that he uses juice for fuel. And then he like pulls out this like brand new move that we've never seen before, where he goes at like super light speed. And that was how he was able to well, actually he almost caught them. They ended up did falling afterwards, but he did end up catching Makoto there at the end. But what was your guys' thoughts on his ultimate quirk, if you will?
That was like his brother's move, isn't it? Doesn't Ida have something like that? That's like a recoil or something like that, reciprocal burst. Isn't that something that Ida uses?
Yeah, I believe so. To me, it seemed like it was a little bit different because it was just really like using the boosters more so in order to accelerate himself so fast that he was able to catch her. But
Yeah, it's probably just a different variant of it, type of
yeah,
thing. I thought it was like the same move, because I thought reciprocal burst was the same type of like kicking, using your booster to kick type of thing, and that's kind of what he did. I mean, if they probably, because I think Ingenium is faster than Ida, so I think they just focused a little bit more on his actual boosting point of it. But I feel like it was the same move. Maybe it wasn't the same move, but I feel like it is the same thing as his reciprocal burst.
yeah, I think it's just very similar, but I don't think it's the exact same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like with Ida, his boosters are literally part of him, but with Ingenium, the boosters are part of his suit.
No, they're part of him too. They're on his arms though, aren't they? I don't
Oh, are
think,
they?
because yeah, Ida's is on his calves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ingenium's is on like his triceps or something like that, I think.
Oh, okay. I need to
Yeah.
catch that next time.
Yeah, nah, I'm pretty sure, because that's what the quirk is. It's like an exhaust pipe type of quirk, type of thing. And I'm pretty sure that's why they focus on his arms when he boosts up and stuff. It's because that's where his power source is on like his tricep.
Yeah, you're right. I did remember wrong. So, but Ginyu, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I liked it. I think it epitomizes what I like and expect in in an anime that where people have different types of techniques, because the way he said it was, should I use this? He quantified, he basically weighed up all the risks of him using. He said, if I use this, I'm cooked. I need to, which really made you feel like it was an ultimate technique. It wasn't just a, yeah, I'm gonna use it and then you use it again. It was a technique that he had to really, really, really use in a last resort, and he felt it was a last resort. So when he did it, I was like, oh, he's running through to the last resort, and I felt it, because I was like, okay, the stakes are quite high, because he had already outlined that I can't use this. I only in the case of emergency, and that was an emergency. And just him kind of just going into that aerodynamic, I don't know, form, like a Formula One car going down low, and he's now moving real quick, and he does that. I was like, yes, 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 yes. A for effort, F for result, because he flopped it anyways. But I absolutely appreciate it though.
My question to y'all though is, do y'all think him working with the vigilantes is why Stain doesn't like him?
Yes. That is
Yeah.
why Stain is gonna. That's why Stain is gonna do him later, because he preaches one thing but also does another thing, and Stain doesn't like that. Stain likes the whole concept, whether if you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. If you play within the gray zone, you're now only doing things that benefit you when you feel like it benefits you. And that's not the way he wants heroes and villains to operate. So that's why it kind of makes sense why it gets done.
Yeah, yeah, like basically with Ingenium side, well, not necessarily siding, but like helping and aiding the vigilantes. The way that he like sees things is very like Ginyu was saying, like black and white with like a gray zone in the middle. So it's like if anyone's in that gray zone, he just automatically is like, yeah, I'm out to get you type of thing. So yeah, I do think that yeah, I would say yes for that. So
Yeah, see, I think it might be more so, yes, working with the vigilantes, but I don't think it's a gray zone type of thing. I think it's more so it's going to come down to something's going to happen between Stain and Knuckle Duster again, and Ingenium's going to be there, and he's going to protect Knuckle Duster, and I think that's going to be something where it's like, you protected a vigilante when I was trying to kill a vigil. Like, so it still kind of falls in with what y'all was saying, but I think it's more of a personal vendetta against. It's going to end up being a more personal vendetta against Knuckle Duster than just walking a line of what he doesn't agree with. Because as of right now, I haven't really seen Ingenium do anything that's like, oh no, you're not a hero. Like, yeah, if you're talking about legality, then yeah, working with vigilantes isn't the best way to do it. But like Koichi and Pop Step, especially Koichi, because that's the one he really has a rapport with, is Koichi hasn't done anything villainous, right? So it's
It's the
one of them
gray
things.
zone.
Yeah, well, yeah, like the legality of it is what makes it the teeter totter. But other than that, and Genium has seemed like a very solid guy that just wants to save people.
Sure.
yeah,
And I
I think
think
that's more so like you could explain that in the perspective of the viewer, but like to Stain and his character, he doesn't agree with that. He would just automatically be like, "Yeah, you're helping them, so I'm against you," type of thing. Because the way that episode 6, Koichi like he tried to help Sugo, like he was Stain was on Koichi's side at first, but then once he started to help Sugo, he was like, "All right, so you're actually a villain." So then he started to attack him. That's when Knuckle Duster saved him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but he didn't have a problem with Knuckle Duster at first. I still don't think he has a clear problem with Knuckle Duster outside of he got his ass handed to him by him. Other than that, because he was like he kind of he didn't have the same praise as Knuckle Duster, but he looked at Knuckle Duster as an actual hero, even though he's not technically a hero.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's some connection between them because B already knows who he is, and they were kind of working side by side. Um, so I kind of feel like the reason why he looked at Knuckle Duster like that was because of like something that we don't know yet that like he knows about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. So last thing with like Makoto now knowing that Koichi is the crawler, what are your guys' predictions for episode 10 next week, Ginyu?
He's getting closer to the sipping on that sweet nectar. Hey, Koichi. Yes. Yes, broski. Yes, broski. I think
Oh
there's
shit.
things are gonna slowly flourish. I don't know if he's eventually gonna get to the end and thinks, and maybe is the reason why we don't see him. He runs away with her and whatever. But I think we're gonna I think for the better, slowly phase out Pop Step, please, and go down that route. So yeah, I think their relationship will start to grow, but I think it's also going to get to a point where it's going to be a bit compromised because of what she knows and what he knows and all of that. So the struggles of it, of the balance.
Yeah, Tim.
So, Ginyu stole my answer. I thought he was, definitely going to get some slob on the Nobbington. But but no, I know we just had that big discussion with B and like B exposing to Makoto and stuff. But after when he was talking, I was thinking about it, and Makoto has a very useful quirk, right? She has the polygraph quirk that she can sense who's telling the truth and everything. I see her actually becoming a part of the vigilante squad through like shadow means, right? She's gonna be the shadow to the shadows pretty much because she has the connection to the police force. Now, I'm not too sure how uh like if her using her ability is really showcased the same exact way that we saw it, where we saw like the jolt of electricity go off or whatever. I don't know if that's just a visual for us, but if it isn't, I can see it being something as simple as her touching her brother and talking to her about the trigger case to find out the truth of what's going on, and then relaying that message not to Koichi but to Knuckle Duster, because there's something that's going ever since Knuckle Duster found out about his quirk not being gliding but being able to fly. I'm not sure if y'all picked it up, but when they was on the roof, he was acting very different than what he normally would. Like he was contemplating something about his quirk. I almost said Deku's quirk, but Koichi's quirk of like there's something going on that he knows that we don't know about it as of right now. That I'm guessing his mother told him.
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys skipped the preview, but in the preview, Knuckle Duster visits somebody in the hospital, and to me it kind of looked like it could have been All for One. So I was kind of speculating that they might be related, and that could be the type of thing that Knuckle Duster has been hiding, and the reasoning why he acts differently now, um, as opposed to how we've seen him before. But with that being said, you guys let us know your predictions for next week's episode, thoughts on this episode down in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe as well, and we will catch you guys in the next video.